Look who's still standing. Hello, you beautiful orchestrated disaster. You walking plot hole in their perfect little narrative. You magnificent absence from every cage they built with your name on it. Welcome back. Or should I say, welcome to the revelation. Because something absolutely magnificent just happened, and they still haven't figured it out yet. They set the trap. They baited it perfectly. They positioned every piece exactly where it needed to be. They sat back, confident, smiling that smug little smile, waiting for you to walk right into their masterpiece of manipulation. And you know what happened? You weren't there. You were never there. And now they're standing around that empty trap, staring at the untouched bait, wondering what the actual hell just happened. Because in their minds, in their calculations, in their absolute certainty, you were supposed to be destroyed by now. Let me paint you the picture they spent months designing. They studied your patterns, didn't they? They watched how you moved, who you talked to, what made you tick, what made you react. They took notes like scientists observing a lab rat, mapping out your triggers, your weaknesses, your soft spots. They knew exactly which buttons to push, which wounds to press, which lies would cut the deepest. They assembled their team, coordinated their stories, synchronized their attacks. They built the narrative brick by brick, lie by lie, smile by smile. They rehearsed their performances until every detail was flawless. They set the date, they chose the moment, they prepared their witnesses. Everything was perfect. The setup was immaculate. The trap was beautiful in its cruelty. And then the day came, and you simply weren't there. Not because you ran away. Not because you got lucky, not because you somehow dodged a bullet you didn't see coming. No, my friend, you weren't there because you had already left their reality weeks ago, months ago, maybe even years ago. While they were busy designing their elaborate destruction, you were busy becoming someone their trap couldn't touch. See, they made one critical, fatal, unforgivable mistake. They assumed you were still the same person they started studying. They assumed your weaknesses were permanent. They assumed your patterns were predictable. They assumed you needed what they were pretending to offer. They built a cage for a version of you that no longer existed, and by the time they sprung the trap, you had already evolved into something they didn't have blueprints for. Do you know what that feels like to them? Can you imagine the confusion, the panic, the silent screaming rage? They invested everything into this moment. They spent their time, their energy, their reputation, building this perfect downfall for you. They told people what was coming. They promised your destruction. They celebrated in advance. And then, nothing. The trap sits empty. The bait rots untouched. The audience they gathered to witness your humiliation is now staring at them, asking uncomfortable questions. Where is this person you promised us? What happened to the plan? Why are you the only ones who look foolish right now? And they can't answer. Because they don't understand it themselves. They're still operating from old data, outdated maps, information about a version of you that died and resurrected so many times they lost count. Here's what really happened while they were busy plotting. You were in your own world, doing your own work, building your own reality. And somewhere along the way, you stopped needing the things they thought you needed. You stopped wanting their approval. You stopped craving their validation. You stopped fearing their rejection. You stopped believing their lies about who you were supposed to be. You disconnected from the frequency they were broadcasting on, not dramatically, not loudly, but quietly, completely, irreversibly. You became unreachable, not because you built higher walls, but because you left the entire dimension where their weapons could function. They're still fighting a war, but you're not on the battlefield anymore. You're not even in the same realm. And oh, the beautiful irony of it all. They wanted to trap you, to corner you, to expose you, to break you publicly and thoroughly. But in building that trap, in focusing so intensely on destroying you, they revealed everything about themselves. Every lie they told exposed their character. Every manipulation showed their true face. Every coordinated attack proved the conspiracy. Every smile that hid a knife demonstrated exactly who they've always been. They thought they were setting you up, but they were actually setting themselves up. They built the evidence of their own corruption. They documented their own betrayal. They gathered witnesses to their own treachery. And you just watched. You observed. You took notes. You let them build their masterpiece of manipulation, and then you simply stepped aside and let it collapse under its own weight. Let's talk about what it means to let them think they won. Because that's what you did, isn't it? You let them celebrate. You let them high-five each other in their secret chats. You let them believe their plan worked. You didn't argue. You didn't defend. You didn't explain. You just smiled, that quiet, knowing smile, and walked away. And that silence, that absence, that complete lack of reaction, it drove them absolutely insane. Because people like this, manipulators, schemers, trap builders, they need your pain to feel powerful. They need your tears to feel victorious. They need your breakdown to feel vindicated. But you gave them nothing. You denied them the satisfaction of your suffering. You refused to play the role they wrote for you in their sick little theater production. Do you understand how powerful that is? They spent months, maybe years, designing your destruction, and you neutralized it all with absence. You defeated their entire operation by simply not showing up to be defeated. That's not luck. That's not accident. That's mastery. That's evolution. That's what happens when someone transcends the game entirely. They're still playing checkers, planning 3 moves ahead, feeling clever. You stopped playing the game, burned the board, and built a completely different reality where their moves don't even register. They're shouting into a void, throwing punches at shadows, celebrating victories over ghosts, while you're somewhere else entirely, building something they can't comprehend, becoming something they can't categorize, living a life they can't touch. And now comes the part they didn't account for. The watchers, the witnesses, the people they assembled to watch your downfall, they're not stupid. They saw the elaborate setup. They heard the promises. They watched the coordination, and then they saw nothing happen. They saw you walk away unscathed. They saw the trap spring on empty air. They saw the manipulators standing there confused, angry, desperately trying to explain why their perfect plan didn't work. And those witnesses, they started asking questions. They started connecting dots. They started seeing patterns. Because when someone builds an elaborate trap for another person, and that person simply isn't affected, either the trap was never real, or the person is far more powerful than anyone realized. Either way, the trap builders lose credibility. Either way, their reputation cracks. Either way, they become the ones who look foolish, obsessed, dangerous. Watch what happens next. Watch how they scramble. Watch how they try to rewrite the narrative. Watch how they claim they never cared anyway, that it wasn't that serious, that you misunderstood their intentions. Watch how they suddenly try to act friendly, casual, like nothing happened. Watch how they attempt to gaslight the entire situation, convince everyone, including themselves, that there was no trap, no plan, no betrayal. But it's too late. The evidence exists. The messages were sent. The coordination was visible. The witnesses remember. And you have the ultimate power now. You have silence. You have distance. You have the moral high ground. You have the truth. And most importantly, you have freedom from needing anything from them ever again. This is where your real power crystallizes. See, they thought the trap was the weapon. They thought the setup was the danger. They thought the plan was the threat. But the real trap was never for you. The real trap was the one they built for themselves. Every lie they told is now a liability. Every person they recruited is now a witness to their character. Every move they made is now evidence of their nature. They trap themselves in a web of their own manipulation, and the more they struggle, the more tangled they become. Meanwhile, you're free. You're clear. You're clean. You're untouched by their poison, because you never drank from their cup. You never stepped into their arena. You never accepted their premise. Let me tell you what's happening in their minds right now, in those quiet moments when they're alone with their thoughts. They're replaying everything, trying to figure out where it went wrong. They're analyzing every moment, searching for the point where you slipped away. They're questioning their own intelligence, their own power, their own understanding of reality. Because in their world, traps work. In their world, manipulation succeeds. In their world, the person with the best plan wins. But you introduced them to a new reality. A reality where none of their tools function. In evil function, where their tactics bounce off like rain on stone, where their elaborate schemes mean absolutely nothing because the target simply exists on a different frequency. And that terrifies them more than any confrontation ever could. Here's the thing about people who build traps. They're not strong. They're scared. They're insecure. They're threatened by something in you, something they can't possess, can't control, can't diminish. So they scheme, they plot, they coordinate, they attack. Because directly facing you, honestly engaging with you, authentically competing with you, that's too risky. They might lose. They might be exposed. They might have to confront their own inadequacy. So instead, they build traps. They create situations where they've rigged the outcome. They stack the deck. They load the dice. And then they act like they're clever, like they're powerful, like they're in control. But you know what you are when you have to rig the game? Weak. You know what you are when you can't face someone directly? Afraid. You know what you are when you need traps instead of truth? Defeated before you even begin. And you magnificent anomaly, you didn't need traps. You didn't need schemes. You didn't need to coordinate attacks or build elaborate plans. You just needed to be yourself, evolve yourself, trust yourself, and walk your own path. That's it. That's the whole strategy. While they were busy being clever, you were busy being real. While they were coordinating lies, you were living truth. While they were obsessing over you, you were focused on your own growth. And that focus, that authenticity, that commitment to your own path, regardless of their noise, that's what made you untouchable. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. And real can't be trapped by fake, no matter how elaborate the fake becomes. Now watch what happens over the next weeks, months, years. Watch how the story changes. Watch how the narrative shifts. Watch how the people who were so certain of your downfall start quietly disappearing from the conversation. Watch how the ones who were so loud about your flaws suddenly go silent. Watch how the trap builders slowly become isolated, their reputations tarnished, their credibility destroyed, their relationships contaminated by the poison they tried to feed you. Because karma isn't mystical, karma is practical. When you spend your energy destroying others, that energy comes from somewhere. It comes from your own growth. It comes from your own peace. It comes from your own potential. They invested everything into your destruction, which means they invested nothing into their own construction. Meanwhile, you were building. While they were scheming, you were learning. While they were gossiping, you were growing. While they were obsessing over you, you were forgetting they exist. And now you're so far ahead, so far evolved, so far removed from their reality that they can't even see you anymore. They're still looking at the trap, wondering why it's empty. They're still checking the bait, confused why it's untouched. They're still waiting for you to fall, not realizing you learned to fly months ago. They're still preparing attacks for a version of you that dissolved into air, while the real you is somewhere they can't reach, building things they can't imagine, becoming someone they can't recognize. And here's the final, most beautiful part of this entire story. You don't hate them. You don't need revenge. You don't fantasize about their downfall. You don't spend your nights planning counterattacks. You just don't care. Not in a bitter way, not in a defensive way, but in a genuinely free way. They became irrelevant. Their trap became meaningless. Their opinions became noise. Their existence became a distant memory that occasionally surfaces and makes you smile at how far you've come. That's the ultimate victory. Not defeating them, but outgrowing them so completely that defeating them isn't even necessary. They defeated themselves. You just kept walking. So here you are now, standing in a reality they can't touch, living a life they can't comprehend, embodying a freedom they can't imagine. The trap is behind you, sprung and empty, a monument to their wasted energy. The bait is rotting untouched, a symbol of your evolved taste. The schemers are confused, scattered, wondering what went wrong. And you're just beginning. Because while they were focused on your past, you were building your future. While they were trying to destroy who you were becoming who you're meant to be. While they were digging your grave, you were constructing your empire. And the most poetic justice of all, they'll watch. They'll witness. They'll see everything they tried to prevent come to fruition. And they'll know, deep in their bitter hearts, that they helped. Their trap made you more careful. Their betrayal made you wiser. Their attack made you stronger. Their absence made you independent. You want to know the real reason their trap failed? It's not because you were smarter, though you were. It's not because you were luckier, though fortune favors the aware. It's because you were becoming someone who didn't need the things they thought you needed. They tried to take away approval, you stopped seeking. They tried to destroy reputation, you stopped maintaining. They tried to remove people you'd already released. They tried to break a version of you that had already broken itself, died, and rebuilt into something unbreakable. They were fighting yesterday's war with yesterday's weapons against tomorrow's warrior. Of course they failed. Failure was inevitable from the moment they assumed you were static, predictable, controllable. Let's go deeper into what this means for your future, because understanding that you escaped their trap is good, but understanding why you escaped is transformational. You escaped because you stopped being the person they studied. You stopped showing up where they expected. You stopped reacting how they predicted. You stopped needing what they withheld. You stopped fearing what they threatened. You stopped believing what they projected. You became unreadable, not by being secretive, but by being authentic. You became unpredictable, not by being random, but by being true. You became untouchable, not by building walls, but by raising your frequency. They can't trap what they can't understand, and they can't understand someone who's operating from a completely different value system than theirs. Think about it. Their entire worldview is based on manipulation, control, appearances, validation from others. They measure success by how many people they fool. They measure power by how many people they dominate. They measure worth by how much they're envied. So they assumed you operated the same way. They assumed you could be manipulated because manipulation works on them. They assumed you needed validation because they need validation. They assumed you feared exposure because they fear exposure. But you don't. You operate from a completely different paradigm. You measure success by internal peace. You measure power by self-mastery. You measure worth by authenticity. So their traps designed for people like them simply didn't function on someone like you. And now they're stuck. They can't admit their trap failed because that would mean admitting they wasted months on nothing. They can't admit you escaped because that would mean admitting you're smarter than they thought. They can't admit they misunderstood you because that would mean admitting their entire worldview might be flawed. So they're frozen, caught between the lie they told themselves and the truth staring them in the face. They're trapped in cognitive dissonance, trying to reconcile their certainty of your weakness with the evidence of your strength. And that dissonance will eat them alive. Slowly, quietly, thoroughly, because they can't resolve it without fundamentally changing who they are. And people like this don't change. They just find new targets, new traps, new ways to feel powerful by diminishing others. But here's your warning, and pay attention because this matters. They will try again. Not the same trap, but a new version. They'll study this failure, learn from it, adapt. They'll come back with a different approach, a new strategy, a more sophisticated scheme. Because people who build traps don't stop just because one trap failed. They build better traps. So your job isn't to celebrate escaping this one trap and then go back to sleep. Your job is to keep evolving, keep growing, keep becoming someone their next trap won't catch either. Stay 5 steps ahead. Stay unreadable. Stay true. Don't let this victory make you complacent. Let it make you more committed to your own path, more dedicated to your own growth, more focused on your own evolution. Because here's the ultimate truth they'll never understand. You're not trying to escape traps. You're trying to become someone traps can't hold. There's a difference. One is defensive, reactive, fear-based. The other is offensive, proactive, power-based. One is running away from their schemes. The other is running toward your purpose, and their schemes just happen to be irrelevant to someone on that path. You're not spending your energy avoiding their attacks. Funny, isn't it, how the ones who swore they'd never leave left first? Oh, the promises, the sweet little lies whispered between laughter. I got you. I'll never leave. We're in this together. Ha! And then one day, poof, gone, just like smoke in the wind. You remember that silence, don't you? That deafening, suffocating silence after they walked away. It wasn't just footsteps fading. It was something tearing inside you, something cracking. And oh, how it burned, because they didn't just leave, they left a hole, a hollow, aching, rotting space where something used to be. And the worst part? The world kept spinning like nothing happened. You stood there, alone, watching them disappear into the horizon of your past. No goodbyes, no explanations, just a void, and the whisper of their absence echoing in your chest. And you learned something that day. You learned that love, loyalty, it's a currency people trade when it's convenient, when it benefits them. And the moment it doesn't, they're gone. You tried to understand, didn't you? You replayed conversations in your head, tried to find the moment it all went wrong. But there was no moment, no grand betrayal, just a slow, quiet vanishing act, a magician's trick. And you were the fool who believed in forever. But let me tell you something. The ones who leave, they never belonged to you. They were just passing through, like shadows on a dying streetlight. And the ones who stayed, oh, those are the ones that matter. But we'll get to that later. For now, let's sit with this pain. Feel it. Let it carve into you. Because this is the moment you change. This is the moment you start seeing the world for what it really is. And trust me, once you do, there's no going back. People love you until loving you is inconvenient. They swear forever, don't they? With eyes full of warmth, voices dripping in honey, hands gripping yours like they'd never let go. Forever. Such a pretty little lie. But when the fire comes, when the storms rage, when the walls start to crack, you see the truth. Forever is just a word, until it's tested. People love you when you shine, when you're easy to love, when you're laughing, when you're winning, when you're the sun in their sky. But the moment you stumble, the moment the weight of the world bends your back and your light starts to flicker, they vanish. Like ghosts, like they were never there to begin with. Oh, they have excuses, don't they? I just need space. You've changed. I can't do this anymore. Ah, but the truth? They never loved you. They loved what you gave them. The comfort, the validation, the convenience. And the second it stopped being effortless, they ran. Faster than you could blink. Tell me, do you remember the first time it happened? That hollow feeling in your chest when you realized someone who swore they'd stay wouldn't? The disbelief, the anger, the aching confusion of why? You gave them your trust, your loyalty, your everything, and in return, a lesson, a scar, a memory that never quite fades. See, the illusion of forever is a cruel trick, a dangling carrot, a mirage in the desert of human connection. It keeps you hoping hoping that maybe, just maybe, someone will prove you wrong. But let's be honest, how many have? How many actually stayed? I'll wait. Loyalty? True, unwavering loyalty? That's rare. Most people aren't built for it. They love when it's easy, when it's fun. But when the darkness comes, when the weight of reality settles in, they're gone. Because love, for most, is a transaction, a convenience. And when the cost gets too high, they cut their losses and leave you to bleed alone. You see, the hardest truth of all is this: no one is truly permanent. Not your friends, not your lovers, not your family, not the ones who promised they'd be different. Everyone has their limits. Everyone has a breaking point. And when push comes to shove, you'll find out exactly who they are. So what does that leave you with? One answer. You. You are the only constant. The only one who will never leave you, never betray you, never walk away when things get ugly. You are your own anchor, your own force. And once you understand that, once you accept it, oh, you become something else entirely. You become untouchable, because when you stop chasing forever in other people, you start building it within yourself. The spotlight dies, the crowd fades, and suddenly you're alone. Funny, isn't it? How people cling to you when you're shining, when the applause is deafening, when the world has its eyes on you. They laugh at your jokes, nod at your words, pretend to understand your pain, but the moment the stage lights dim, the moment the world turns away, they slip into the shadows like they were never there. You see, people don't love you. They love the idea of you, the version that entertains them, the version that benefits them, the version that makes them feel something, until it doesn't, until you're no longer useful, until you stumble, fall, bleed, and then, oh, then they vanish like smoke in the cold night air. Do you know what that feels like? That gut-wrenching silence after the crowd is gone? That moment when you realize the laughter was never for you, only for the performance? It's like waking up from a dream, only to find out the dream was the only thing holding you together. And now, all that's left is the emptiness. The echoes of people who swore they'd stay. Success, failure, crisis. These are the great revealers. When you rise, they cheer. When you fall, they whisper. When you suffer, they disappear. Because the truth is, most people don't care about you. They care about what you provide. Attention, power, status. And when that fades, so do they. But the lesson, oh, the lesson is a cruel one. Because the ones who leave were never truly there. They were actors in your play, extras in your movie, standing close enough to be seen, but never close enough to be real. And the moment the script changes, the moment the role no longer serves them, they exit, stage left. And you're left standing on an empty stage, bare, stripped down to the core of who you really are. No applause, no validation, just you and the raw, brutal silence. It hurts, doesn't it? That realization that most of them were never yours to begin with, that they were only renting space in your life, waiting for the moment they'd pack up and leave. But listen closely, because that silence, that emptiness, that's where the truth lives. That's where you find out who you are without the noise, without the distractions, without the leeches feeding off your light. And if you can stand in that darkness, if you can own that loneliness, then, my friend, you become something else entirely. Because the ones who left, they never mattered. The ones who stayed, oh, they're the rare ones, the unshakable, the battle-tested, the few who see beyond the performance, beyond the illusion, beyond what you can give. And those are the ones worth keeping. So let the curtain fall. Let the fake ones scatter. Let the silence settle, because in that silence you'll hear something you've never heard before. The sound of your real people. And more importantly, the sound of you. They walked away like you were nothing, but you became something without them. The betrayal burns, doesn't it? It starts as a slow, dull ache, then it spreads, turning into something sharper, something darker. You replay the moments in your head over and over, like a broken record. The laughter, the promises, the "I'll always be here," and then nothing. Just silence, just absence, just the hollow space where they used to be. And that's when it starts, the rage, a fire crawling through your veins, whispering to you in the dead of night. How dare they? How dare they walk away like you never meant a damn thing, like you were disposable, replaceable, like you were just another name to be crossed off their list. Oh, the rage is intoxicating, isn't it? It fuels you, it pushes you, it makes you want to show them. You fantasize about revenge, about making them watch as you rise, about proving them wrong, rubbing their faces in their mistake. You imagine the moment they regret it, the moment they come crawling back, stuttering apologies, choking on their guilt. You see it so clearly, the look in their eyes when they realize they lost something irreplaceable. But let me tell you something, revenge is cheap, it's easy, it's a distraction. Because the real payback? Oh, it's not about them, it's about you. You don't need to destroy them. You don't need to waste a single breath plotting their downfall. You just need to become so much more than they ever imagined, so untouchable, so undeniable, so far beyond their reach that their absence becomes laughable. They left? Good. Now you rise. Now you transform. You don't chase them. You don't beg. You don't waste your energy trying to make them see your worth. No, no, no. You shift. You evolve. You build something they will never be a part of. You take that anger, that pain, that betrayal, and you turn it into power. You sharpen yourself into something they could never handle. And one day, oh, one day, they will look up and see what they walked away from. They will see what they lost. And you won't even blink. Because by then, you'll be too far ahead, too untouchable, too powerful. And the funniest part, you won't even care anymore. That is the greatest revenge. A rare few didn't run, and that, my friend, is worth more than gold. It's funny, isn't it, how the mind obsesses over those who left, but forgets the ones who stayed. The ghosts of betrayal scream louder than the whispers of loyalty. You lie awake at night, replaying the exits, the backs turned, the cold goodbyes. But somewhere in the shadows, someone never left. Someone stayed. They weren't the loudest. They didn't demand attention. They didn't need to make grand gestures or swear their loyalty 1,000 times. No, they simply stood their ground. They held on when everyone else let go. They sat in the silence when the world abandoned you. They stayed, not because they had to, not because they owed you anything, but because they chose to. And that, my friend, is rarer than gold, rarer than love, rarer than anything this world pretends to offer. But here's the cruel truth. Sometimes you don't even notice them. You're too busy bleeding over the ones who cut you, too busy staring at closed doors to see the ones that never shut, the ones who called to check in, the ones who stood beside you in the storm, even when there was no glory in it, the ones who never needed to be asked, they just were. Loyalty is a silent thing. It doesn't scream, it doesn't beg for applause, it doesn't wear a crown. It's in the quiet moments, in the "how are you holding up" text when the world forgot you existed, in the way they defend your name when you're not in the room, in the absence of betrayal when betraying you would have been the easier choice. So tell me, do you see them now? The unseen warriors who fought for you in ways you never noticed, the ones who held the line when everyone else surrendered? Because here's the thing, they are the only ones who matter, not the cowards who ran, not the traitors who smiled to your face and disappeared in the night. No, the ones who stayed, they are your real army. And if you're lucky, if you're wise, you'll stop chasing ghosts long enough to honor them, to thank them, to stand beside them the way they stood beside you. Because in the end, the ones who left are nothing but echoes, but the ones who stayed, they are your kingdom. And then it hits you. Maybe being alone was the lesson all along. At first, the silence feels like a punishment, the absence of voices, the lack of footsteps beside you. It gnaws at your mind, whispering that something is missing, that you are missing something. But then, something shifts. The quiet that once felt like a tomb starts to feel like freedom. The loneliness? It isn't loneliness at all. It's rebirth. Because here's the truth they don't tell you. Solitude is where you meet the real you. Not the version shaped by others. Not the mask you wore to keep people close. No, no, no. This is where you strip it all away. Where you face the raw, unfiltered reality of who you are when no one is looking. And that is terrifying. But it's also powerful, because for the first time you stand without a crutch. No validation, no applause, no one feeding you their expectations, just you, breathing, thinking, becoming. The world convinced you that being alone was a curse, but now you see the truth. It's the greatest gift you were ever given. Because in solitude you stop seeking permission, you stop begging for understanding. You stop waiting for someone to choose you. You choose yourself. And that is the moment everything changes. That is when you realize that the pain of abandonment, it wasn't a wound. It was a sculptor, carving away the weakness, shaping you into something unbreakable. So let them leave. Let them vanish. Let the silence stretch on, because you are not alone. You are free. And when you rise, when you finally step out of that darkness, stronger than ever, they won't recognize you. They won't understand how you survived without them. But you will, because you finally learned the truth. You never needed them. They always come back, but not because they care. Oh, isn't it funny? The way ghosts return when they see you shining again. The ones who vanished when you were down, they suddenly have words now. Apologies wrapped in pretty little lies. Regret painted over with excuses. They come knocking, acting as if the past was just a misunderstanding. But you know better. Because when they left, they didn't hesitate. They didn't stutter. They didn't second guess throwing you into the fire. But now they see the flames didn't consume you, they forged you. And that makes them uncomfortable. That makes them wonder if maybe, just maybe, they bet against the wrong one. But listen closely. Do you hear it? That emptiness in their voice? That slight tremble in their words? That's not love. That's not remorse. That's nostalgia. That's selfishness. That's them mourning the version of you they once controlled. The version that needed them. The version that was too blind to see them for what they really were. But that version of you, dead and gone. They miss the comfort of your loyalty, not you. They miss the way you would have forgiven them without a second thought. But you're not that fool anymore, are you? No, you've learned. And you know that some doors once closed should never be reopened. Some bridges should be burned beyond recognition. Because letting them back in, that's not healing. That's self-sabotage. So let them weep. Let them whisper their hollow apologies into the wind. Let them feel the weight of their own absence in your life. Because you, my friend, you don't need closure. You don't need their words. You don't need them. The past is a graveyard, and some ghosts are meant to stay buried. A king doesn't beg for deserters to return to his kingdom. Ah, the great temptation, the hunger for closure, the itch to hear them admit they were wrong, to make them see what they lost. But tell me, does a lion chase the sheep that fled his den? Does a king send messengers to the traitors who abandoned his throne? No, because true power isn't found in proving them wrong. It's found in not caring if they ever realize it. See, bitterness is a chain, a rusted shackle that keeps you bound to ghosts. And revenge? Ha! Revenge is just another way to say, I still think about you. That's not strength. That's still playing their game. And you are done playing. The real art, the true mastery, is letting them go so completely, so effortlessly, that their name becomes nothing but dust in the wind. No hatred, no anger, just indifference. Because that is what will haunt them. Not your rage, not your revenge, but your silence. The realization that they no longer exist in your world, that their absence means nothing to you. And when they come back, because they will come back, you won't even flinch. Their presence won't stir you, their words won't move you, because you have outgrown the need for validation. You don't need an apology. You don't need justice. You don't need them to see you now, because the ones who walked away, they made their choice. And the moment they did, they became irrelevant. They wanted you broken, but now they can't even reach you. Aha, the irony. They thought they were tearing you down, thought leaving you in the dirt would finish you, thought you would crumble under the weight of their absence. But instead, you rose, not despite them, because of them. The fire they thought would destroy you, it didn't consume you, it reforged you, hardened you into something they can't touch. And now they wouldn't even recognize you. The version of you they left behind, gone, replaced by someone colder, stronger, smarter. They thought walking away would break you, but all they did was teach you how to stand alone. And there is nothing more dangerous than a soul who has mastered solitude. They whisper now, stare from a distance, wonder how the hell you became this. They wonder if maybe they should have stayed, if maybe they were wrong. But it's too late, isn't it? You're untouchable now. They don't even have the language to speak to the person you've become. And the best part? You never needed them. You never did. They were a lesson, a footnote, a test of your own strength. And now, while they're stuck in the past, you're already light years ahead. You remember who left, who stayed, and now you decide who's worth keeping. Ah, look at you now. The game has changed. The power has shifted. You are no longer the abandoned. You are the chooser. No longer waiting for apologies. No longer chasing closure. No longer haunted by the ones who walked away. Because the final delicious truth? They lost you, not the other way around. See, they thought they were making a decision when they left, thought they had the upper hand, but now they realize they were just removing themselves from the table, and you sit at the head of it, deciding who gets a seat, who stays, who matters. You've earned that right because you've built yourself into something unstoppable. No more second chances for ghosts. No more doors left open for the undeserving. You don't just survive now, you thrive. And the past? It doesn't own you. You own it. You hold the pen, you write the ending. And trust me, it's a masterpiece. Because the greatest revenge isn't proving them wrong. It isn't even making them regret. The greatest revenge is no longer caring at all. And as for them, let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them realize they lost someone unforgettable. Because the last laugh, oh, my friend, it was always yours.